Good morning to all the Unisons who are in this meeting, and I also welcome you into this very chilly morning. But I must tell you, it's quite an exciting workshop. It's a workshop that creates a lot of anxiety to many other people. And so I wish to ask you to be attentive. It will elicit a lot of anxiety. So I would ask you to put those comments and questions in the chat if you have any uncertainties and questions that you may have, so that we can have enough time to engage with them. But this morning, the focus of our presentation, or my presentation, is to look at how are we doing postgraduate research in the era of artificial assistive tools. Now, what is artificial assistive tools? We have been working with technology for the longest of time, isn't it now, for almost 4 or 5 decades since the introduction of the computer and later on the introduction of internet facilities and services. And it has changed our life radically. This morning, I spoke to someone who said that she visited some space in Limpopo. And there in Limpopo, next to the space she visited, was a public phone booth. And somebody in their 20s said, "Oh, is this the way how they have done it in the past or in the olden days?" And she says she's 30 and she remembered how she used to walk to the phone booth to make a phone call. And today we walk around with mobile phones and devices, and we can make phone calls from the convenience of our immediate space and comfort. And this is how far technology has advanced. Now, similarly, in the education space, technology has also considerably advanced in terms of how we learn, how we access sources, how we engage with these sources. I told students on Saturday in Durban, when I was a student, I felt extremely smart that I would walk to the library and I would walk back with 30 books in my hand, and I would sit somewhere on the grass with all of these 30 books and look for information. And when people pass by, it looks that as if I'm working extensively hard. I'm just one of those smart students. But it took tremendous time to work with these 30 books that I need to read through and search through information. 20, 30 years down the line, we have the internet, and many of you are familiar with Google Scholar. Many of you are familiar with other platforms to search for sources and for literature in order to support you with your research. And now, last year, we have learned of new tools that came on board. These tools have scared academia, they have scared learning environments, they have scared various industry because they are not specific to the education sector. You could actually apply them quite everywhere. And so we are aware of these tools, and we are aware that students are making use of these emerging tools, because as lecturers, some of us are still so used to the traditional ways of doing. Download an article, read through those 30 articles, and then make summary notes on it, and then write 3 lines from 30 articles that you have written or read. And so that takes time to finish the work that you are focusing on, your dissertation, your thesis. And so there are a couple of new kids on the block, and they are emerging as we go by the minute. There are quite a number. But the one that you might be quite familiar is ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence tool that would, if you give it an instruction, that it will search through the internet sources and it will construct a particular discussion or respond to a particular request based on what you have instructed it to do within 5 seconds to 10 seconds. Many of these emerging tools have come on board or were developed in countries like the US, in countries like China, where technology is highly advanced. And by the time it reached our continent, we were not ready, and people just started using it. Now, there was a huge resistance towards artificial intelligence, particularly ChatGPT, which many of you might be familiar, and the big uproar that it has caused. And so, but we are aware that students are using these tools. And I want to compare these tools to a scenario that back in the days, we had people who would run from one town to the other to deliver something many, many moons back. That was your first delivery service. People would literally run from one town. And later on, we had the horse carts. And then it would be a cart that would be driven by horses, and then it would transport whatever it could. Down the line of times, it was the introduction of vehicles. And these motor car vehicles, motorbikes, and all sorts of automotive mobility tools that are out there emerge. And today we have motor vehicles that are quite advanced. They park themselves, they reverse. You just press certain buttons, and this is how far technology has advanced. Now, many of us also have seen and got quite disturbed when we see a child driving a vehicle, because in South Africa, for you to be a legal driver, you should be of the age of 18. And there are very specific reasons that you should be 18 and that you should have passed a driving test, a learner's test first, and then a driving test before you can be allowed on the road. So there are some ethical expectations for you to be on the road to make sure that you are safe and that the others who are using the road with you are safe as well. This is the same situation. If we are going to let loose tools that are emerging, and mind you, a car is very convenient and enabling, but if we put it in the wrong hands without giving you the necessary skills and training to use it, you might kill a lot of people. You might even kill yourself. So we have at UNISA, while we are working on our policy, we have realized students are using these tools. But because they have not gone through the learner's test and also through the driver's test, they are risking their education journey. And so we thought of having this workshop. So I don't know whether you heard the previous parts.
Yeah, I must indicate that the slide is still on the first one. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so there we go. So now, my presentation will look at balancing independent writing with working with AI tools, and then the ethical usage of AI assistive tools. And then I will introduce you to some practical demonstrations. I know of a lot of people who have gone through the learner's test, and the learner's test, I think it is valid for 2 years here in South Africa. But many of them, the learner's test lapse because they have never used it in practice, or they've never gone to the next level where they go for the driver's test. So part of it will be to do the driving test today. So you might consider having your laptop, if you have internet facilities, you must have internet facilities anyway, if you are on this workshop, that you consider trying out as we go through this. Now, before we go on to this, to the balancing part, as I said, these artificial tools are tools that help you to work differently. You no longer have to go and read 30 articles in order to get an idea. You no longer have to go to the library and order 50 books in order to write a paragraph and to get a summary from a particular book, because we now have tools that enable you to work through this literature sources, through these academic sources, or whatever sources that you are using. Some of these tools enable you to generate ideas. Some of these tools enable you to engage with the feedback that you get from an examiner or from a supervisor. And so it is important that when we engage with this, that we are very cognizant that we don't become too dependent on this. Now, my mentor in AI introduced me to a different term. We call it AI, the abbreviation, artificial intelligence. He calls it, and it's in the literature, he calls it intelligence augmentation, intelligence partnership. So it's IA. Augmentation is that it adds to your knowledge. What does this mean? You cannot work through this knowledge on your own. These artificial intelligence tools are there to support you. They are not there to do the work for you. Now, unfortunately, this is the reality that has happened when you have not been workshopped through the use or in the use of these tools, that you just go on ChatGPT and you ask for certain things. It gives you an outcome, and it does not holistically align with what you are required to do scientifically and academically. And what a lot of people have done was just to copy and paste. We want you as a researcher to still maintain your human agency. We still want you to hold to your own intellectual project, but that these tools enable you to support this intellectual journey and intellectual project that you have. Remember, we no longer talk about AI, we now talk about IA, intelligence augmentation. You have your body of intelligence, the human element thereof, and you get supported or you work in partnership with these tools. And so how do people then use these tools? Many of us are fourth language speakers. And as a postgraduate student, you may have discovered that some of your supervisors would say, please give your work to an English reader, or please give it to a language editor, or consult with the writing center before you submit your work. Because English is a fourth language to us. It's a fifth language to us. Yet, and it's an inherited language to us. And the academic project, particularly in South Africa, it's regulated and governed by this language in which we need to express and clearly articulate our ideas. And we do not have a mastery command of this language. Some people speak very fluent and write very fluent, but for the majority of South Africans, this is a language that we are still struggling with. Sometimes our E's and R's and words and was are at the wrong place, and that comes through in our writing. And by no means does it question your intelligence, but yet you are expected to present an education that is fluent, an academic discussion that is clearly written in English, right? And so these tools offer the platform where you can then take your level of English and submit it to this tool and request the tool to clear it, make it readable, make it remove all grammatical errors and so on. So it becomes a language tool. I said to the students as well that many of us have to pay language editors because that has become a source of income, and it actually has become a career for some people that they use. They become language editors as the main source of income. But here you have these tools for free where you can load your document and it can clear it and rework your submission into a very clear, crisp English academic submission. Right. So this is the one way that you can use it in. The other thing is, because English is a fourth or a fifth language or whatever level language it is to you, we struggle to generate ideas in this language. We know what we want to say, but how to construct it, how to develop these ideas, sometimes doesn't come out so clearly. And it takes so much longer with your proposal because your supervisor would say, this is not clear, that is not clear. What do you mean with this? Right. But when you engage with these tools, it will tell you, oh, rework this idea and express it in a particular way. Right. So this is what it does. It's not that you don't have these ideas. It is just that the language enables you, or the tools enables you to express your ideas in a very clear way in English. Okay. Ironically, I keep on saying English, that these tools also have translation services. Okay. So you could easily type it in isiZulu, isiXhosa, Sepedi, Setswana. You can type your ideas in these languages, and then you request it to translate it into English and make it clear. That's another way of doing it, because sometimes as people who speak vernac, we think in our indigenous languages, and we are more clearer in what we want to say, but to transpose it into English can become very problematic. And so these tools enable you to do just that. So it is very important then when you use your own language that you maintain your voice. Now, the moment you type a question to ChatGPT or any of these other AI tools, they would give a voice to you. Now, if you do not engage with what this tool has generated for you, you're likely to lose your voice. You're likely to lose the ideas that you want to express in your research. And your research might be very specific to Rooigrond there on the other side of Mafikeng. It would be very specific to in Kimberley. It might be very specific to Umlazi in Durban. And the moment you allow this tool to generate ideas for you and you don't engage with it, it's not an augmentation tool, it's now an authority tool. It takes away your voice and your arguments. So it's very important that we maintain our voice when we deal with these tools. So implement the human in the loop approach. How do we do that? How do we do that? For every AI assisted task, include a step of human verification. You read through it. Does it say what you want to say? Does it express the specific nuances, characteristics, and context of your own research? It might give you a context of South Africa, but it will not give you the context of a Mamelodi. It will not give you the context of Soshanguve. And you are the only one, the human being, your brain, your experiences that can give Soshanguve experience to your writing. And therefore, it's important that you don't copy and paste the work that ChatGPT is giving you, but that you verify, that you interpret, that you rework, that you reconstruct whatever ideas have been generated. I want to underscore it's an augmentation. It is not an authoritative voice to you. So very important when you work, when you deal with this work, you will, and you do not verify it, it's easy to pick it up that it's not yours. A colleague of mine had a student who wrote his proposal for 7 years. And for 7 years, it was a struggle to complete this proposal. And after various interventions, the student was given a last chance. And that last chance was last year. And last year, ChatGPT landed on the market. The student learned about ChatGPT and suddenly engaged with the tool. Now remember, when a 10-year-old child has just seen how daddy is driving and get into the car and starts driving that car, this child might be a risk to his own life and to the lives of others. This student was that 10-year-old child. Start to engage with the tool, produce this magnificent proposal. From struggling with 7 years to put a proposal together, all of a sudden he provides a proposal that you would say could pass at Oxford University. And then my colleague asked him, hey, and now what happened here? He says, no, Prof, I took in consideration all of those recommendations you have given me. When the document was submitted on Turnitin, it was discovered that the entire document was computer generated. Now, this is when we deal with tools and we don't have a proper understanding. These tools are not there to lose your human agency. You still have to work in partnership with it. He lost his voice. He lost his identity in the proposal. All he gave us was a beautiful English constructed document. And the naked eye can see that. So your lecturer will know. We are speaking in a particular way. We construct our ideas in a particular way. It is not going to be so clear and crisp. That's why you have to work with your own voice when you get these iterations from these tools. Regularly pause to reflect on AI inputs and how they highlight with your research goal. And that's exactly what I've said. Check. Because one of the things of our research is there are clear research goals and objectives, clear research questions. Does whatever have been produced by these tools in what you have requested, does it still align closely with what your study intends to do? What you have said are the objectives of your study. That is critically important. Okay. So now, for this reason, you need to constantly pause and do that reflection of alignment. Then also make a conscious decision about accepting or rejecting AI suggestions, because never took it as the gospel. Whatever has been given to you, it might sound good, but your thinking about your study should never be pushed to the back. It must always be on the forefront. You must always be in control of this knowledge project that you want to generate. So it is important that you decide what you accept and what you reject. When you accept it, you still have to adjust it and engage with it to make it specific to the context of your study. I just want to see why the slide doesn't want to move. Dr. T, can you just, oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it's moving, Prof.
Okay. Now, let me just see. Okay, there we go. It is very important that as you're working with these tools, that you keep a record of where you have used AI. Now, you keep a record of all the sources that you have consulted. You remember the source of Brown 2023. You remember the source of Diale 2022. You remember the source of Machila 2021. You keep a record of that. Similarly, you have to keep a record of where have you used the AI-generated submissions and suggestions and recommendations. Where have you incorporated it? And it's important that in your methodology that you state how you have used intelligence augmentation, IA. I still have it AI on my slide, but it's IA. So you must be clear. There are institutions now who in their policies are saying, when you use these tools, express it very clearly that I have used it and this is how I used it, okay? There should not be a problem on you using it because like any other technology tool, if you think about it, Google Scholar is an AI tool. All of these library platforms, they are all AI tools, but you must show how you have used it. Where did you get these articles? In which database do they come from? Who were the publishers? And so on. You still keep a record of all of those. Similarly, you need to keep a record of your usage of AI tools. Which ones have you used and how have you used it? Describe that in your methodology, because you were then open and honest, you were transparent on how you have used it. For those people who are writing articles. There are even journals who ask you to do a declaration statement that you have used AI and how you have used it. Now, when AI landed on our computers in this current form, your ChatGPT and Claude and all these others, they were branded as a cheating tool. But as we are going, we realize it's a teaching and learning tool, not a cheating tool, but a teaching tool and a learning tool, right? So, but you must show how have you used it to learn, okay? You must show that. You must be transparent about that. Then one of the things that you must be cognizant about is to cultivate a critical thinking skill. Now, you would hear that your supervisor will make a comment. I don't think that this paragraph is critically discussed or sufficiently critically discussed. So as AI gives you suggestions or the tool gives you suggestions, you must still apply your mind in a very critical way. Are there biases around this? Right? And what are the biases? How does it speak to race? How does it speak to class? How does it speak to gender? And how does it speak to sexuality and religion? Because remember, these tools are generated and designed in a particular context, in a particular country, and they are not familiar with issues such as ulwaluko. So now you have ulwaluko, which is not a practice with them in the US, and they might have biases about ulwaluko. So therefore, it's important that your critical mind kicks in here and ask yourself, what this document has given me, does it make sense on what it says about ulwaluko? Do you agree with what it says about ulwaluko? Now, what is interesting is that I was writing a paper on transgender women or transgender men who's gone through the process or the journey of ulwaluko. And the comments or the generation that I got from AI was so negative. But the data of my paper was that it was a positive experience. And immediately there was a disconnect with what I got from the tool versus what my data is saying. So it is very important that you engage with these tools to avoid the biases. If you just accept it, you will deviate from the objective and the findings in your study. So therefore, it's important that you engage with it throughout. Now, for those who are doing quantitative studies, you would know that there's a continuous engagement with, or there's always a requirement that there should be a hypothesis, a prediction of the outcome. Now, when you formulate your instructions, make sure that your hypothesis is clear, your prediction is clear, your idea of the intended outcome is very clear. Don't let AI think for you. Maintain your critical thinking. Engage in discussions with peers and supervisors about your research, independent from AI, because I tell you, there's a risk. If you allow AI to become your voice, it shuts down your entire agency. It shuts down your creativity. It shuts down your own thinking, as you will see when we do the practice. So it's very important that just as you work with AI, you continue to have discussions with your supervisor. You continue with discussions with your peers who are doing research in the same field. You continue to consult with literature. Don't stop reading. Continue reading. Continue seeking the most recent publications in your area so that you don't lose your critical thinking ability, but also lose your authoritative voice in your research, because your research should be led by your voice. Don't become overly dependent on this tool, because it will make you, if I can use this word, a zombie. I was laughing over the weekend when I presented this in person to students in Durban, and the one person said, "Hey, this is a tokolot." So we started to call this tool the tokolot. And so there is the perception that the tokolos will make you a zombie. It will take away your agency. It will take away your power to think, to be yourself. So if you give over all your thinking and engagement with your research, you will become a zombie. And this tool will then decide which direction your research will go, and it might be wrong, and it might be in a misalignment with what the objectives and research questions of your study may be. With all academic projects, we hope to bring an original contribution. So use the AI to handle routine tasks, freeing time from creative thinking. Right. Now, there's another tool that I will introduce you later today, which is Claude AI. Claude AI, the free version, gives you about 10 prompts per day, and then you have to wait for tomorrow before you can engage with it. And I say to the students that I work with and encourage when they use these tools, do not subscribe to the paid version. Stick to the free version, so that when your 10 prompts are finished, then you engage, the human agency kicks in. So you engage with what has been generated from the tools, in your human ability, your human skills, knowledge then kicks in, and you work in partnership with what AI has given you. So give time for creative thinking. Don't sit on the stool the whole day, because it will take away your creative thinking. Actively seek areas where human insight is crucial. I have said that several times, and focus on your efforts there. And you've got to ask yourself, what unique perspectives am I bringing to this research? What do you bring? Not ChatGPT, not AI, not these other tools. What do you bring? Right. In partnership with these tools, it should enable you to make your own contribution. What is your contribution? What is your perspective to your research? So that is an important one that you cannot hand over to the tool. The tool should just help you to say it in a very clear way. It's like a language editor, but your idea should not disappear in the use of these tools. And therefore, we've got to use it in an ethical manner. We have to use these tools in an ethical manner. Ethics mean to do it in the right way that will not cause harm. Harm can be to yourself. Harm could be to others. Also, ethics deals with the notion that you are honest and truthful. Right. So are you honest and truthful in the way that you use these tools? So what are the honest and truthful ways to use these tools? How can you use these tools without sending wrong perceptions about your abilities, your skills, and your knowledge? Ensure that you have proper permission for any data that you input into the AI tools. be aware of potential biases. I've said that these tools might not be aware of your particular context, particular phenomenon that you are researching, and might have biases. I've made the example of the Passage to Manhood, Ulaluko. It has some ideas about Ulaluko. It does not have the ideas about Ulaluko that you have, and it might have biases to your understanding of Ulaluko, and therefore it is important that you are aware of that. Consider the broader implications of your research when you use AI tools. Now, I did give you the example of my colleague and his student, who suddenly, after 7 years, this student produced in the first couple of months a sterling, clear, well-written proposal, which he could not do for 7 years. And so plagiarism and in academic integrity is of critical importance. When it goes through, turn it in, and you have not given it a human touch and feel, like you do with any paraphrasing, your similarity index traces, such as turn it in, will pick it up that your work was AI generated. This is not your work. It replaces the originality of your work. And this is against the ethical use of knowledge in UNISA. We want you to acknowledge the sources. We want you to paraphrase. We want you to use all of these available knowledge tools that are out there, be it a publication, online book, whatever it is, internet source. We want you to use it, but we want you to use it in an ethical way. It should not replace the originality, but it should also have academic integrity, that you are using it in the right way. It's not something that you have just copied and create an impression that it is your own work. Now, also be careful that you don't insert sensitive information. We live in the world of technology. We know the POPI Act and how we must protect our participants of research, that you are clear that there's no sensitive information that goes out in the system. I've dealt with the issue of biases already. And then over-reliance, I spoke about it. Don't become too dependent on it because it takes away your criticality. Be transparent on how you have used it. Now, I want us to stop here with this discussion, and I want us to explore a few tools, because some of you have come across these tools, some of you have not come across these tools. I just want to caution you, for some of you, it will be a shocker what these tools are doing, and it might be a way of, oh, wow, all my problems are resolved. Remember what I said. It's intelligence augmentation, not intelligence, artificial intelligence reliance. Okay. So I'm going to bring up my screen, and I will introduce you to where, let me just see. Here we are. So you probably want to write this down. This one is called ChatPDF. Now, ChatPDF, if you see there in the address, it is just ChatPDF. You can basically just Google search it. So ChatPDF is a document, is an AI platform that you can load a document and you can ask certain questions about this document. Now, what I appreciate about ChatPDF is that we are all very busy people. You can't read through all 30 articles in detail, right? So it is time consuming to read and read and read and just write 4 paragraphs because you don't find the correct sources. So you might have had the experience that your supervisor is saying, I want you to read the article by Machila 2020 because it deals with your topic and insert the methodological considerations into the section. Now, what you do is you click on drop PDF here. So when you Google search it or you put it in the address, this page will appear. And you basically go then to your database where you have stored all of your articles. And then let's take one of my examples, the experiences of transgender students. So you click on your, okay. So this one asks you now, if you use it, I have used it before. I have used it before, and that's why, oh, no, I don't want to upload this one. This one does not upload. Let me just see another one. Okay, it still wants me to go through the paid version, but because I've used it and I've used all my prompts for the day. But what it does is a screen will come up and you can engage with questions. You could actually ask it to then identify the methodology. Like you would ask, what was the methodology that was used in this study? Okay, so it's important that you know what kind of questions you are asking. Now, when you use these AI tools, I have said to the students before, prepare yourself before you start with your tools, because these free tools allow you only a certain number of prompts before it requests you to pay. As you can see, because I've worked in the morning with it, my prompts for the day has been all used, and therefore it doesn't allow me anymore. But if you go into it, it will give you the opportunity to upload a document, and then you can engage with the document. It will give you summaries. It will also show you where in the document, where in the article does it appear. Okay, so that's ChatPDF. Then let's go to this one. This is the one that you have heard from last year. Now, this is perhaps the evil one that everybody is branding out there. Don't use it. How many of you have seen it in your assignments? Lecturers are saying, you are not allowed to use ChatGPT. When people say that, you are not allowed to use ChatGPT, it's almost like you say you're not allowed to use Google Scholar. It's just another AI tool. If you use it wrongly, you will get in trouble, right? So you need to explain to your lecturer that I use it as an augmentation tool. I use it as a language editing tool. I use it to stimulate my thinking. So be clear why you are using it. So when you Google it or when you go on the address on top there, because I'm already registered, it will not ask me to register. I always say to the students, use your Google account. If you use your Google account, you can register with the Google account. If it comes up, there will be an option to say login or register. You click on register and you add in the information they require. But when you register with Google, and then it will take you to this platform. Now, where a lot of people have gone wrong with this. If you say, what is interpretive research? It will give you, let's see, anything. So you have a chat platform or a message box where you can just search what you want. So you see the speed that it gives you the information. And this can be very exciting, right? You're like, oh my goodness, I have not come across a tool that gives me information in such a fast time. But let's look at it. Interpretive research is a qualitative approach to study social phenomena, emphasizing understanding the meanings and experiences of individuals in the social context. This type of research seeks to interpret how people construct and understand their realities, focusing on subjective aspects of human behavior and social interactions. So that's a very textbook understanding of interpretive research. And your supervisor will write there in your methodology section or in your proposal, this is a good definition. However, it is too textbook. How does this relate to your study? So because this is a machine, it is important that you give this machine an identity. The first thing that you must do is to give this machine an identity, because this machine didn't know who is asking this question and why this question was asked. In what context is this question asked? So when you engage with the tool, it is important to give it an identity. So first of all, what is an identity? You are a master's student in the College of Human Sciences at the University of South Africa. Now, when you don't give context or geographical boundaries, if you say you are a master's student in you are a master's student in the College of Human Sciences at the University of South Africa, a master's student in the College of Human Sciences. You could be a master's student in human sciences in Australia. You could be in Canada. You could be in Italy, right? But when you say human sciences at the University of South Africa, at UNISA, then the boundaries become very contextual, okay? Also, you must give it specifics as to what you are doing. So you are doing a study on gender-based violence with women living with disabilities. Very important, your research question is focusing on specific support services for women living with disabilities and subjected to GBV. So now the computer knows, oh, okay, you are a master's student. This is where you are a master's student. This is what you are doing, your focus of your research question. Then you close the brackets with a curve bracket. So giving it an identity is always done in the curved brackets, right? Now, you need to give it an instruction. And your instruction must be very specific. It must be very detailed. You are not sure how to develop a literature review for the study. You could say, propose a literature framework for a study of this nature. It should include, it should include the nuances and novelty. Because you want to know what's new about a study of this nature. It should also identify the gaps in the study. Now, remember, you only have 10 prompts a day in some of these platforms. So make sure that your instruction is detailed enough. It should be specific to the South African context, but it should consider other international perspectives. So now you have given it an instruction. What is important is to give it a length as well. This framework should be 600 words long. So the instruction is very specific, it's very detailed, it's very clear. You want a framework to stimulate. You are clear. I want to do a study on gender-based violence. I want to do it with women who are living with disabilities. Because when we hear about gender-based violence, we only hear about women. We don't hear, or women, abled women, women in mainstream society, we hardly hear of the other women. Okay, if you know Sarah Ahmed's work about the other, we have women who are othered, and then you have these othered women who are further othered. So it's women who are Black and who are living with disabilities. So they live with specific otherness. And then in this otherness, there's another other. And so you've got to be very detailed with what is it that you are asking. So let's see what it gives us now. As you can see, the speed in which this is happening. Remember, you are just looking for a framework to stimulate your ideas. So what it says to you, as you are thinking about your topic and the literature review section, it gives you an overview of what GBV is. Gender-based violence remains a critical issue globally, with women disproportionately affected. I asked the question the other day, it's gender-based violence. Can men be affected by GBV? Yes, they can be. But what this document is saying is that it is disproportionately affected by, women are more affected by GBV than other genders, okay? Within this demographic, women with disabilities represent a particular vulnerable group, okay? So women are vulnerable, they are more affected, but then it says women with disabilities are more affected. So it gives you ideas, right? Let's go a little bit down. It gives you two theories. It says there are two theories you could consider. There's a feminist disability theory, and this theory is dealing with societal norms about and marginalizations about women with disabilities. So what does it mean? You need to now go to these theories and go read up about it and see how does it apply to your own study. It also proposes intersectionality. So here you have two theories. You can't just pick because ChatGPT has given you these two theories. You will now have to look at how does this actually fit into. They are both relevant, but which one will speak better? It says here that highlights how various forms of social stratification such as race, gender, and disability intersect to create unique experiences of oppression and privilege. For women with disabilities in South Africa, understanding the intersections of gender and disability, you could have even gone as far as exploring race, is a crucial development effector. Now compare these two theories, and the human agency and the critical thinking should kick in to say, I need to read a little bit more about these two theories and then identify the conceptual ideas in these two theories as to how does it fit into my study, okay? Or how does my study align with these theories, okay? Then it gives you a framework around literature elements that it wants you to consider. It says for you to understand women living with disabilities and their experiences with gender-based violence, you need to look at the social cultural constructions of gender and disability in South Africa. How is disability constructed from a cultural perspective? How is gender constructed from a cultural perspective? So it says culture plays a very important role on how these women are positioned. There are certain traditional beliefs, there are certain stigmas that come with disability, that come with women. So go and read around this. I am saying to you, this could be an angle that you could explore literature from. Then it says, also look at the economic and social factors, because women with disabilities are less likely to have jobs. They are dependent on their partners. And when there's violence, they're unlikely to leave because they are dependent. Their caregivers are abusing them. So this is another aspect. It also says to you, go and explore what support services are available so that you can make sense of what exists and what doesn't exist in order to support these women. Then it says there are these countries that you can look into, Australia, Canada, perhaps, and look at what their unique issues are around women and disabilities. Then it also gives you the gaps, because your examiner will ask you, what is the gap, or your supervisor, what is the gap in this literature? It says, first of all, we don't have a record of this data. So you need to go and write and read around, why is there a lack or a silence around data in this area? Inadequate support services, policy implementation, intersectionals. So I am saying to you, you should not go and copy what is in here. In fact, what you could do is this icon here says copy. You copy it, take it to a Word document, and now you start planning your ideas in writing your literature review. That is what you do with it. You don't just copy and paste it into your work. You copy to work with it now, okay? Another thing that you could do is you see this paperclip here. Now, you know that the paperclip stands for attachments. what ChatGPT allows you is if you click on it, you could actually upload sources, upload from computer. Now, I can, let me go to one of my folders here. So I can literally click on all of these sources here, and I could attach them. I attach them all to ChatGPT. Now, you will see here are the articles that were in my folder. I could say, remember, you give it an instruction. You are a master's student doing a study on transgender women, students in higher education. So your focus is on institutional care and support in a South African university. Remember, you gave it now who it is. Then you give it an instruction, humanly write a critical and concise discussion based on the attached articles on the lived experiences of transgender identities. Now, what ChatGPT does, it goes into a dark hole of literature on the internet and it will generate ideas. But in this case, you are saying to ChatGPT, I don't want you to go to that dark hole. I want you to work with these specific articles. I found them myself. And this is what I want you to work with. And this is what I want you to assist me with to augment my ideas. So it gives you all of this. And all of these ideas are now summarized from the articles that you have fed it with. The knowledge doesn't come from the dark hole. The knowledge comes from the articles that you have assigned to it. Now, there's a problem here. It is still running and running and running because you didn't tell it how long it should be. One of the things that your examiner or your supervisor will immediately say is, Ewena, Tony, you have not cited where you got your sources from. Right. Now, if you do not tell the tool, if you do not tell this tool where to that it must cite the sources, then it will not cite sources, as you can see. And your supervisor will have a huge problem. So what you say is, in that same thread, rework the last submission and support all discussions with in-text references include direct quotes and concrete examples in the discussion. So there you can see, look at the difference between this this version, this iteration, versus the iteration from the other one. This one has got quotes, this one has got examples, and this one has got references. Don't get excited in copy and pasting, because this is not your voice. This is not your agency, right? This is not your authority in the writing. This is ChatGPT writing it for you. Now, you will have to come back to this after you've copied it and transposed it to Word. You then will have to rework this, put it in your own words, put it in your own discussions, bring in your contextual understanding, bring in your authority here. So this is very important, okay? As you can see, in the reference list is very incomplete because you have not even specified in your instruction that there should be a reference list according to APA. So that is how detailed you can become with these tools. I'm going to use 2-3 more minutes to show you another one. This is Claude. So Claude AI is another one. This is the more academic version thereof. It works exactly the same as AI, but my experience with this one is if you do scholarly work, that it is more responsive to scholarly work, right? If you are a student doing research, it really helps you scholarly work, extractions and iterations. So Claude AI, you have to register with it in the same way as you would register with ChatGPT. This one gives you also 10 prompts per day. So you could use ChatGPT, you could use Claude, and then there's another one that I'm going to introduce to you. It is called Poe AI. So Poe AI is one of the tools. This is the free version of Poe. It works exactly the same. What Poe has done, it has Claude the second version, it has ChatGPT all combined. So Poe is a combined version of the various existing ones, okay? And it works in the same way. Where you have the plus, you can select your attachments, you give it an identity, you give it an instruction in the same way that you give to ChatGPT and to Claude. I always say when I introduce students to too many platforms, it can become daunting, it can become confusing. So we have, 15 minutes to go through questions and answers. If you have questions and answers, we can talk about that now. But these are the 4 tools that as beginners, I want to introduce you to. Dr. Tony, I don't know how many questions are in the chat box. Let's start.